And then he finishes his poetic essay with an interesting observation. See, I've had students that say, dude, this is a really depressing poem. So basically you're telling me I'm swinging at the park, metaphorically. It's just I never really thought of it that way. And now all of a sudden I look up and there's the van. And whoever's going to take me away from the park, where I want to swing, is in the van waiting. How much more time? When you were a little kid, maybe you did this when you were having so much fun at the park. And you were like, no, go away. I don't want the van. Leave me alone. Right? But you knew that the parent was there who was going to take you from the park. It was just a matter of time. That's what he has said. It's just a matter of time. And some of us read this poem up to this point and we go, geez, this is kind of depressing and sad and maybe even a little scary. Look now at the third part of the poem. So, look what he says. Are you with me on page 264? I hope you're reading it. It's the last stanza of the poem. Read it with me on 264. So, ironically, live. In other words, recognizing you have... Listen. Recognizing you have to leave the park makes swinging that much sweeter. Think about that. Recognizing you have to leave the park makes swinging that much sweeter. I once coached a ball player who was incredibly gifted, unbelievably fast. We played a ball game. And the coach came up to me after the game and he said, I've seen this kid a long, long time. I've watched you coach him for a long time. I have never seen that kid run as hard as he ran today. Ever. He said, I've never seen any kid run that hard. What'd you say to him before the game? I'm just a coach. I want to know. How'd you get in his head? And I said, well, on our way out to the park, out to the pitch, I was walking with him, as I always do, and making last observations. And I looked at him as we were walking, and I said, hey, I just want you to know that you're about to go out and play in this game. We're going to win. You're going to play well. But after the game, on the way home, in your vehicle, you're going to get rammed from the back. And you're never going to walk again after you get jacked in this accident. This will be the last time you ever run. And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, dude, how do you know that? I said back to him, I don't. But neither do you. If this was the last time you sat in a classroom and listened to a lecture, how would that change for you the experience of sitting in this class and listening to this lecture? The beautiful thing about realizing you have to leave the park is it makes swinging so much sweeter. Because you get a chance to swing. You get a chance to know the people who you're with, who you love. Knowing that the people you love must leave makes being with them that much sweeter. Which is why so regularly at death, people will often say, gee, I wish I had spent more time. I wish I could have said. I wish I could have done. And Bryan says, so live now. Knowing that you have to leave the park makes swinging that much sweeter. For ball players, knowing you get a chance to run, but someday you won't run, makes running that much sweeter. Your life is precious when you realize you don't get to swing at the park forever. Whew. Read it with me. So live that when thy summons comes to join the innumerable caravan, which moves to that mysterious realm, where each shall take his chamber in the silent halls of death, thou go not like the quarry slave at night, scourged. In other words, when it comes time to die, don't go like some slave going off to... How should you die then? How should you leave the park after all of the swinging? Read it with me. But rather, he says, sustained, soothed, have an unfaltering trust, approach thy grave like one who wraps the drapery of his couch about him and lies down to pleasant dreams. In other words, if I gotta go, I want to go like I wrap myself up in a nice warm blanket when I want a good nap. In other words, I swang hard. I swang long enough. I lived my life in such a way. Socrates says it this way. At the moment of death, everybody says the same words. The words are, "Oh my God." The only question is the inflection of the voice. For most people, at the moment of their death, the way they say the words, "Oh my God," are, "Oh my God, what have I done with my life?" Think of the Scrooge story. The first ghost comes to him and shows him his past. He's a little bit upset. The second ghost comes to him and shows him the present. He's a little more torqued off. It's the third ghost that shows up who says nothing. The third ghost is who? Right. Dressed all in black, bony finger. That's death. And when the third ghost shows up to Scrooge, all he does is show him his tombstone. He points at Scrooge's tombstone. And Scrooge sees the moment of his death. It's at that moment that he's ready to beg for a little more of life. Interesting. Most people, when they meet their final moment, say, "Oh my God, what have I done with my life?" But do you know, hey, I hope you're listening to me. I hope you're hearing what I'm about to say. Do you know people in your life who, if today it's time to leave the park, they are able to say the words, "Oh my God," but in a different way? It isn't afraid. It isn't, "Oh, what have I done?" Regretful. You know what I'm saying? They've lived their life in such a way that when it finally comes time for them to die, they go, "Yeah, I guess I always knew I had to do this thing. So, let's go on to the next adventure," whatever that is. Bryan is going to challenge you in his poem to say, live your life in such a way that when it comes time for you to leave, there are no regrets. I would write that down at level 2A. Live with no regrets. What I had told my ball player was, in code language, play with no regrets. Go out and do everything you can as well as you can. If you look back on yesterday and you say, "You know what? I didn't swing at the park very well." Apologize to yourself and to those who you can, and then start swinging. Because you weren't at the park for very long. And the reality is, it's a beautiful place to be at the park. But you only get to swing for a little short period of time, and it's over, and it's done. So Cullen Bryans and Thanatopsis is going to say, yes, there is death. Don't worry, you're not alone. And because you're not alone, take courage. Live your life well. So when it comes time to leave your life, you can leave it well. Well, there you go. An introduction to Thanatopsis, a strange title. I hope that it at least made you think a bit.